Chief Wright and the members of his last Citizens Academy.
We had more than this amount of people at the Citizens Academy. We really enjoyed it, and we learned so much. The police department is awesome. We learned that we're the third safest place to live in Missouri, and I've been sharing that with people, and they are so happy to hear that, and it's because of Chief Wright and the members of his team. So we thank you all so much for all the hard work you do. And then I also, a friend of mine in North Carolina, she made each of the members that went to it decal for the windows, but unfortunately I didn't get it in the last night, so can I give it to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So, thank you all
Thank
for
you all.
listening.
Thank you. All right, so tonight, right now, I want to introduce Representative Bill Irwin, who represents Pleasant Hill, and he's going to talk to you guys a little bit tonight before we get started.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, welcome tonight. And my wife always says, write down what you're going to say, otherwise you go down a rabbit trail and waste a lot of people's time. So I did it. And I just want to thank you for being here. I am humbled and honored that my friend, Mayor John King, invited me to be here. He's a brother naval veteran and also a brother first responder. And I find him to be a dedicated leader who really has the future of Pleasant Hill in his heart, and he works his tail off. I think his wife will tell you that, to bring good things here and make hard decisions and get things done. I'm your new guy. I'm a freshman. Thank you for all that voted for me. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm still your representative in the state of Missouri, and we got a lot of exciting things going on up there. Over the last 2 weeks in the Capitol, we've done some really good stuff in the Missouri House of Representatives. We passed a Missouri Religious Freedom Protection Act. As you all know, during COVID recently, they were shutting down churches and keeping bars open. At least they were in part of the summit, different parts of the area, not Cass, so much Cass could do what you wanted. But we said they can't do that anymore. So that's fantastic and exciting. We also passed a crime bill, which is pretty inclusive. It helps the police officers do their job better. But what a fantastic department. Third in the state, it's the safest city. Wow, thank you, my brothers in blue. Fantastic, that's great. And I know that they're doing proactive, helping the community policing. Thank you so much. And one other thing that we passed recently was prohibiting state funds for being used for DEI in your school systems or in government. So they can't take your money and spend it on DEI. There's a lot of things to celebrate what we're doing up there, but there's a lot of things to celebrate what you're doing here in Pleasant Hill and the future of Pleasant Hill. You guys have a community that's built on strong families, and it's your community, as you all know, has started with small beginnings. Started out with Glen Irwin, went to a railroad town, and now positioned itself to be the pillars for enthusiasts for outdoor activities. Pleasant Hill continues to evolve as a small town, and as we prepare to welcome the World Cup to Kansas City, I'm excited for what Pleasant Hill has on its books and the possibilities that we have with the direction Mayor King is pushing things, for having a lot of people from out of the state, from overseas, to come gather here. Our newly elected governor, Mayor Kehoe, has laid out a bold vision for the future, one that prioritizes safety, economic development opportunities for Missouri, and he has actionable steps to make sure we can get this done, to ensure our families are secure, prosperous, and our community is strong. Investments in rural infrastructure, education, law enforcement are the forefront to what he's proposing and building for Missouri. And leadership is what he's bringing. And he says it requires clarity, purpose, and action. Governor Kehoe has laid out a clear direction. Leaders like Mike Kehoe and Mayor John King understand that progress requires decisiveness. And as a graduate from the United States Naval War College, we can't get through this without a quote from Clausewitz. He says, "The first, the supreme, the most far-reaching act of judgment that a statesman or commander has to make is to establish the kind of war on which they are embarked." Mayor King understands that we are engaged in a battle for economic strength, public safety, and a higher quality of life for our citizens. Mayor King knows Pleasant Hill is an integral part of the overall vision of the state, and by having a strong community in a strategic location, this place, Pleasant Hill, is in a position to take full advantage of the opportunities to come. I commend Mayor King for his dedication to the city and the work he's doing and how much it has taxes on his family. And may we ask God during this time to bless all the citizens of P Hill, to bless P Hill, to bless the state of Missouri, and to bless the United States of America. And after the mayor's presentation, if you want to thump me or ask me questions about what's going on or why I'm voting or putting it a certain way, I'll stick around and take your questions. Thank you all for having me tonight. Sir?
I feel like you read my speech tonight. This moment in history, momentum into tomorrow, our legacy. On April 2nd, 2024, the citizens of this great city went to the polls for the municipal election and used their vote to speak very loudly about what direction they wanted and demanded. $10 million in revenue bonds to improve our wastewater system. $11.5 million in improvements to our parks and recreation facilities. And $4.5 million in facility improvements for police and animal control. Our moment in history. Historically, municipal elections do not produce record voter turnouts. But once again, the city of Pleasant Hill led the county in voter turnout by percentage. The people of Pleasant Hill care about the community. The Monday after the election, April the 8th, was a city council meeting night. And I told our city leadership to enjoy the moment, to celebrate an unprecedented achievement, because tomorrow we would roll up our sleeves and make good on the promise to our community for the trust they put in us. To be honest, I even let myself relax a little bit to enjoy the win. 59 days later, on June 6, 2024, I sat in the command post at City Hall as the sun came up. I looked around the room as our city administrator, assistant city administrator, police chief, and our communications specialist worked diligently, even though they had been up most of the night, if not all of the night. At that moment, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water were leaking out from an unknown location, and the water tower was nearly empty. How were people in this community going to get water? How do you provide essentials such as bathrooms, showers, drinking water, water to cook, to 9,000 people when the water system is down indefinitely? How do businesses survive? Dozens of unknowns loomed in that room. In a sharp contrast to the feeling of victory on April 2nd, in that room, we were all feeling the heavy burden of defeat. In that moment, I could not help but wonder how a former mayor, Bob Willis, felt as he surveyed Pleasant Hill on that fateful afternoon of May 4th, 1977, as he processed the damage to structures, death and injuries to people, and the toll that the tornado had caused to the fabric of this community. Did he too wonder what tomorrow would be like for Pleasant Hill? While there were ups and downs over the next few days, the things that struck most to me during that time were the essence of what makes Pleasant Hill a strong, vibrant community. Our Public Works Director and his crews worked tirelessly to restore the system, skipping meals and sleep to ensure that our community had safe drinking water. Our local businesses suffered loss, but they adapted. They found ways to serve their customers despite the challenges. I received so many messages from citizens who offered to volunteer their time to our Public Works Department to assist them in restoring the water system. That's right. Not only did people volunteer to hand out water or to take bottled water to those stuck at home, our neighbors were willing to also pick up a shovel and help Public Works fix the problem. Most people never see it, but our City Hall staff, parks employees, and police officers always amaze me at how quickly they finish their regular work and then jump into working wherever in the city they might be needed. They're never afraid to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. Over the course of a year, you would be hard-pressed to find any member of our city staff who has not worked in public works or parks after their normal working hours. Not to mention the hours spent by city administrative personnel who work on court night to assist municipal court, or the hours our city personnel in every department put in during city events. The reality of public service is that people do not call you or stop you at the grocery store to tell you how great life is, or that the city is doing a great job. You hear from people when they are upset or frustrated. People often ask me, doesn't hearing complaints day in, day out get exhausting? Sorry about that. Something's got my eyes irritated. You know, to step back a few years, 38 years ago, I left my parents' house on the morning of June 4th, 1987, to head for boot camp. I was a naive young man who thought he had the answers to all the world's problems. Nearly 38 years later, a veteran of the First Gulf War and a 33-year career as a firefighter, I have the scars to prove that I'm still too dumb to know the things I do can kill me. I am a little wiser, though. I understand that public service, government, is more than just budgets and laws. It's about people. People with families, dreams, and fears. People who work hard, who struggle, and who have basic expectations for a quality of life. They complain because they have high expectations in their relationship with the government. They complain because government and taxes are the one thing in life that impacts us daily. And we often feel like we have little to no voice or control. Your local government, like every level of government, is not perfect. Building a better quality of life for the community comes with mistakes. It comes with victories, but sometimes the lessons we learn are learned the hard way. Some days are good, and some days are just bad. I think some people mistake the status quo as good. When you find a groove where there's no complaints or problems, it's easy to say, this is where we want to be. Keep doing this and people will be happy. That is only true for a while, but eventually growth overtakes that comfort zone and you're in trouble. The simple reality is that being proactive and building a good quality of life in the community comes with challenges and problems that must be overcome. In 38 years of public service, I can tell you this: you have to stop trying to find perfection. Stop trying to find that singular solution to solve all of our problems simultaneously. There's no winning at government. It's a continuous grind. Indecision is our enemy. We can find ourselves getting caught up looking for perfection or final solutions where none exist. In local government, when you solve one problem, another problem, or two problems, or three problems will rear its ugly head. Local government, more than any other level of government, directly impacts our quality of life. Our focus, our goal, our mission is progress, not victory. Now, while there is no winning, there absolutely is losing. When we give up or we accept failure as final or fatal, then we lose. Losing is accepting that the status quo is safe and a comfortable place to live. Continuous momentum must be our path forward. Never quitting, not giving up, and fighting for a better tomorrow for those we serve are our victories. This is what we want our legacy to be. Tonight is about celebrating the community of Pleasant Hill. Tonight's about reflecting on the good and the bad. We have had great achievements in the last year. We have seen this community grow. And while we still have work to be done, tomorrow does look better because of the hard work of the citizens of this community today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand before this community and our guests to speak on the state of the city of Pleasant Hill. Tonight there are many that I need to acknowledge and thank. Without them, our successes would not be possible. Most of these individuals would say there's no need to thank them, but gratitude is truly meaningless unless you share it. My wife, Kelly, is my best friend, the calm in the chaos. 28 years side by side, literally sharing every element of our lives together. None of the last 8 years as a councilman and mayor would have been possible without her support. People always comment that it's cute that we hold hands everywhere we go. Truth be told, she holds my hand so that I don't wander off and get lost. Kelly, I love you, and thank you for sharing me with this community. I want to thank State Representative Bill Irwin. Representative Irwin was elected to fight to restore integrity and faith in our state government. While he has more than just this community in his responsibilities, he has already proven to be a friend of Pleasant Hill and our citizens. I first met Mr. Irwin over 34 years ago. He was a brand new ensign, and I was a young sailor who thought the world owed me something. That seems like a lifetime ago, but I saw it then, and I still see it as true today. I know Representative Irwin to be a leader who leads from the front, who demands accountability, and who values responsible leadership in government. Even more importantly, a leader who understands the value of family and community. And I want to thank you for being here tonight with this community. I want to thank both the elected governance and staff from this city. I from our partners in the Pleasant Hill School District, the Pleasant Hill Fire District, and our Cass County government. While our missions are different, our services often intersect within the community. Our county, our schools, and public safety are vital to Pleasant Hill's quality of life. I want to thank City Council, Augie Augsburg, Pat Niner, Michelle Newberry, and Jackie Emo. Each of you brings a passion for service and commitment to seeing Pleasant Hill grow and succeed. In every decision you make, you consider how it will impact our community. It's hard when you're elected to represent people many of you consider to be your friends, and you're being pushed by people on both sides of a decision. Sometimes decisions come with the elation from some of your friends and the disappointment from other friends. That is never easy to navigate. I want to thank the city's leadership team, Shelby Tufel, Nikki Wilson, Tony Bakken, Jeff Hall, and Tommy Wright. You and your staff continue to promote a culture of customer service done right within this community. Words do not exist that adequately express my appreciation for the women and men who work at City Hall, in our parks, in public works, in animal control, development services, and serve as police officers. Your time and dedication to serving the people of Pleasant Hill is exceptional. I want to recognize our city boards and commissions. These governmental bodies allow citizens to engage in public discourse and decision-making within the city of Pleasant Hill. Selflessly giving their own time, these women and men give back to this community by ensuring that our path forward reflects the best interests of the citizens of Pleasant Hill. To the nearly 9,000 people who call Pleasant Hill home, thank you for being engaged, being informed, and being invested in your community. The citizens of Pleasant Hill continue to support our local events, and most importantly, you continue to have a dialogue about our quality of life in this community. Finally, I'm grateful for the businesses, civic organizations, and developers who share in the success of this city. Thank you to the Pleasant Hill Chamber of Commerce, Community Bank of Pleasant Hill, Copper Bank, Community Betterment, the Optimist Club, and the Booster Club. There's simply too many businesses and organizations to name them all. But to all our local businesses and organizations, thank you for supporting our community. Community, more specifically being a member of the fabric we call community, transcends the traits by which we define ourselves. We can argue political, socioeconomic, religious, and social dimensions, but I truly believe that all our citizens want one basic commodity. We want to feel safe and to raise a family with a good quality of life in a place we call home. So how do we quantify that? Simply put, quality of life represents residents' overall satisfaction with their various life domains: community, health, work, family, neighborhood, and leisure recreation. The effect within those life domains spills over vertically to the most superordinate domain: life satisfaction. Community life is mostly determined by satisfaction with the life conditions or concerns associated with services and conditions in the city. Our quality of life in Pleasant Hill is dependent upon how 9,000 unique individuals with 9,000 unique backgrounds and histories and 9,000 unique wants and desires to what they feel is most important. For a moment, I'd like you to think of the number of times that you as an individual have stared into your refrigerator or freezer, unable to decide what you wanted to eat for dinner. Now think about those times that you and your significant other have tried unsuccessfully to determine on what restaurant to eat at for dinner. Now add your children to that conversation. It's hard sometimes to figure out what to eat when it's just you. But that same conversation gets more complicated with each person we add to the conversation. In a car with your spouse and 2 kids, what do we want for dinner tonight becomes a complex conversation and is often derailed by that one child who brings up 2 other unrelated questions to that equation. Now consider what that conversation would look like trying to get 9,000 people to decide what we want to eat for dinner. That's what local government is. On April 2nd, 2024, we asked our citizens to vote on 4 propositions. Collectively, they were known as Prop P. 3 propositions were infrastructure investments, renovations to our police and animal control facilities, upgrades and improvements to city parks, and improvement of our water, wastewater infrastructure. The 4th proposition was an internet sales tax or use tax. This community voted to invest $26 million in infrastructure improvements. But like most internet sales ballot issues within the region, it failed. Quality of life for our citizens continues to be based on 5 areas. People want parks to be safe, well-maintained, and with modern park amenities, parks that are accessible to everyone. People want a water wastewater system that is reliable, provides safe drinking water, and operates in a cost-effective manner. People in this community just don't support our local law enforcement. It loves our cops. They want our officers to have quality vehicles, facilities, and equipment. People want roadways, sidewalks, and curbs that are built properly, well-maintained, and repaired properly. And people want a community where they do not have to make a day trip just to find the basic commodities of life: groceries, restaurants, and basic homewares. Achieving these goals does not happen nearly as quickly as we want. The road to meeting these expectations is the proverbial uphill, both ways journey. And most of the time, as the saying goes, it seems like it's snowing. Lately, that's been true. In 35 years that I have served in leadership roles as a non-commissioned officer, field supervisor, fire captain, battalion chief, and an assistant fire chief, there is one vital aspect of leadership that can not ever be valued enough. Real people are on the other side of your decisions. Decision-making takes on a harsh reality when people are on the bleeding end of your actions. Sometimes it doesn't matter what action you take. Someone is impacted no matter which way you go or what you do. But not taking action is worse. Over time, I learned that during difficult times, when decisions are difficult, you just have to be honest with people. Into the fray, eyes wide open, as they say. They may not like what you say, but at some point, the situation is what it is. Local government should be no different. Just tell people the realities of the situations. Don't spin it, don't sugarcoat it. I always figure that if you're going to get trolled on social media, at least then it is factual. The challenge is finding that exact balance where you can be timely and factual. 2024 saw the city of Pleasant Hill bring on a dedicated communication specialist. Our social media footprint and internet communications are at an all-time high. but we can't stop there. The city's also invested in the ability to record and stream meetings. We provided for our first virtual town hall meeting, and we've begun to provide better access to local government to all our residents. Our goal is to reach more residents through technology and increase public awareness in local government. Our move into digital accessibility is in its crawling phase, but we continue to improve our ability to reach people. A critical part of building the quality of life we all desire is hearing from those who are directly impacted by our decisions. Greater public participation leads to a more responsive and effective government that better addresses everyone's needs. Can a group of citizens push change? Absolutely. In 2024, local citizens worked hard behind the scenes to make backyard chickens legal in the city of Pleasant Hill. Now, during this process, a gentleman approached me and asked me why I supported it today when I previously had spoken out against it. I told him part of it was timing, part of it was due to changes in the statutes at the state level, but mainly because of hard work, dedication, and the willingness of these citizens to work within the system to see the change through that they wanted. Now, in the past, someone would stop into a council meeting, they would rant and lecture about how they wanted to be able to have backyard chickens. When asked questions about how they envisioned enforcement, codes, and regulations working, they often said, well, that's not my problem. That's the city's problem to figure out. I just want it. In 2024, these citizens had more than an idea. They did the research, they sought solutions to satisfy the concerns that other people had, and they worked with city leadership to come up with a path forward. They were seeking not just for themselves, but for the concerns of others as well. They wanted to be part of the solution. As leaders, these are the types of relationships in the community that have to be cultivated. Historically, the Cass County Fair, the community garden, and even our UTV ordinance began with groups of citizens who sought to improve the quality of life within this community through their commitment and willingness to put in the heavy lifting on behalf of the community. On March 31st, 2025, backyard chickens will officially be legal within our city limits. Change happens when our civic organizations pull the strongest parts of the community together. The Chamber of Commerce relies on not just its membership, but its partnerships within the community. Community Betterment has a 30-year history of organizing, supporting, and building relationships that seek to provide a better quality of life for the whole community. We have civic organizations today that began with help from Community Betterment. The Optimist Club does so much for the kids in this community. Notables in the Booster Club work tirelessly to improve the quality of life for our high school and middle school activities. Downtown Pleasant Hill is one of the newer organizations in this community. They're planning another year of events in and around downtown, plus their second annual barbecue contest in October. I also want to thank the Historic District for its support within the community. Several months ago, I asked the local civic organizations to consider opportunities where they could work together instead of competing to serve the greater good. It's not an easy task, as each organization has its own responsibilities, its own goals, and its own priorities. It doesn't always work out, and that's still okay. But sometimes it does. And when it does, we should celebrate it. The Chamber of Commerce, the CID, Main Street, and the Historic District have begun partnering on some comprehensive updates to the historic depot. I hope this fosters more cooperation to improve the quality of life for all of our community. Water and sewer is an important topic within this community. It is a topic that at some level we discuss at every council meeting. The city of Pleasant Hill has 60 miles of supply pipes, 26 miles of service lines, nearly 900 valves, and 500 fire hydrants that make up our water system. Water lines breaking and boil advisories are not new to this community, but we should never normalize it. What we should do when they happen, we know that they're going to happen. We have an old system of water lines and valves that need to be updated. We've seen a surge in breaks in areas of the city where the infrastructure was built around the 1970s and 80s. That one we didn't expect, but like any problem, we work for solutions. In October of 2022, we had a series of major water line breaks that created a water emergency. In July of 2023, we had a pump failure that created a water emergency. Then we had the June 24 emergency that was due to a valve issue. Following that 2022 water emergency, city staff came up with an aggressive plan to minimize the impact of our aging water system. City Council authorized funding to make repairs to the water tower, replace and rebuild pumps, update our systems to notify staff of problems faster, and begin a process for water line looping. They're all important steps in managing the water and wastewater system, but they don't happen overnight, nor do they solve every issue. After the July 2023 water emergency, we asked voters for $10 million in revenue bonds to provide funding to make some major overhauls of the system. In a town hall meeting up to that April 2024 municipal election, and really any time I discussed the ballot issue with voters, I expressed the reality that the $10 million was not going to solve all our problems. The city would need millions more to accomplish that. But this was a major step in the right direction. New pumps, building redundancies into the system, water line replacement, relining of water lines, and working to ensure that we have the most accurate mapping and system maintenance technologies have been our path forward. All of these projects do not happen overnight or even in the short term. We will start to see the fruits of these labors later in 2025 and into 2026. If you find yourself wondering, why not yesterday? Why not right now? And are there faster solutions? I sometimes ask myself that very same question, but I remind myself of one simple fact. We did that already. The fast, quick solutions were the Band-Aid fixes that got us to 2022, 2023, and 2024. Those solutions were meant to be temporary, became policies of yesteryear. Today we work on real solutions, long-term solutions, to fix it right the first time. As a resident of Pleasant Hill, what does doing it right mean? It means that there are steps that must be taken to ensure that every dollar of that $10 million is used as a step forward in improving the overall wastewater system, not wasting money on fruitless efforts and quick fixes. Ensuring that the mapping the city has is an accurate blueprint as to where our pipes are under the ground. Camera inspections of pipes to detect problems and potential problems, and to verify infrastructure integrity. Satellite imagery to identify leaks that are not visible at the ground level yet. Identifying the most cost-effective means to improve the integrity of existing pipes to reduce the chances of future waterline problems. The relining of water lines. New pumps, backup systems with redundancies built in, and better leak detection systems. Projects must be completed in a certain order so that they can be done with minimal impact on our community and to ensure that we do not create additional problems for the system. Some water tower updates are required by the Department of Natural Resources, and they're a vital step in improving the system overall. Part of that project requires draining the water tower. Relying on the existing systems to maintain water to your homes while that occurs means that the pumps have to be operating at peak performance. Replacing pumps and installing new backup systems was a required step before that project could move forward. Our Public Works Department also provides for street maintenance. At full staff, there is one director, one supervisor, and 7 Public Works employees who not only maintain and repair our wastewater infrastructure, they also maintain and repair our streets. Excluding the 7 to 8 miles of 7 highway that runs through our city, we have approximately 100 lane miles of roadways in this city. Treating, plowing, and repairing that much roadway is an arduous task. 2023, Public Works Director Tony Bakken proposed the concept of microsealing. This method for street repairs costs less than traditional overlay processes and is just as durable. Each year, Public Works inventories and assesses our streets to determine which streets need repair. Each year, they prepare a priority list for these projects. Microsealing means we can get more streets done each year than we did with traditional overlays. Now the reality is this: not every street can be repaired in a year, or 3 years, or even 5 years. If everything goes as planned and there's no problems, maybe we get every street in this community repaired once over a 10-year span. And then we start the same process over again. People ask, why do streets in this community get so many potholes and cracks? In the past 10 years, we went from a brick and mortar society to an online society. Instead of a weekly drive to the grocery store, shopping once or twice a week, and an occasional delivery to our doorstep, we now have 3,500 residential homes that use Amazon, Instacart, Uber Eats, etc. Some of those homes, it's daily. I cannot even fathom how many additional vehicles we have placed on our streets daily. The Texas A&M Transportation Institute estimates that urban and rural America will see a 78% increase in last mile deliveries by 2030. The number of vehicles on the roadway will increase by 36% in that same period. All of this e-commerce is destroying our roadway infrastructure. This is wear and tear and damage to the roadways maintained by our tax dollars. Yet the vast majority of that is unfunded. Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and other delivery vehicles are a common sight in our neighborhoods daily. Those deliveries will increase by an estimated 78% in the next 5 years. They likely require 36% more vehicles during that same period. So what do I mean by unfunded damage? The majority of those deliveries happening today do not contribute to the taxes that maintain our roads. nor will that increased traffic do so over the next 5 years. This requires the adoption of an internet sales tax or use tax. That tax is not a new tax. Your state and county already collected their sales tax on your online purchases, but the city does not. That requires voter approval. Like most community, these ballot issues failed, as did ours last April. At some point, we will ask the voters of this community to consider it again, but not right now. There are a lot of unknowns right now for this community and its families. We all share the concerns about what the next real estate property assessments will bring. We're all concerned about rising costs. But what that doesn't mean is that we can't have meaningful conversations about how we mitigate the damage to our streets that internet purchasing brings. Broken playground equipment, lack of playgrounds for special needs, park restrooms in disrepair, poor quality park shelters, too few basketball and volleyball indoor spaces, and recreation fields that need updates and renovations. This is what we heard from people in the community. People wanted more or better tennis courts, pickleball courts, and outdoor basketball spaces. We hear the community wanting more walking trails, more or improved campsites, more park space to enjoy with their children and grandchildren, better amenities at City Lake. $11.5 million in general obligation bonds were authorized by voters to make these things happen. Parks and Recreation had not seen a major wide-scale improvement plan in at least a decade. The only significant funding for a project in recent years came from a generous investment by the Pleasant Hill School District. They funded 75% of the project to turf the North baseball field. Some may be critical of that project, but the reality is that investment was more than a dollar amount. It was an investment in youth sports, an investment in future generations. It was a community investment. The $11.5 million in parks improvements is already being put into action. By late spring, early summer of 2025, City Park will have an expanded play area for children that will include accessible and interactive components for all children. It will have a splash pad that requires minimal maintenance and is designed to be efficient. It will feature new restrooms, new shelters, and a small amphitheater. The basketball courts and tennis courts are being resurfaced. City Lake has several improvements and updates already completed or in the process of completion, such as improved camping sites with hookups. Additionally, through the bond, the main road is being improved. There will be new restrooms and showers installed. The play area is being improved. And adult game areas for horseshoes and cornhole are being added or upgraded. The city needed improvement for youth sports. The recreation complex is undergoing extensive renovations. The current baseball, softball fields are getting upgraded to include LED lighting. The concession area and seating areas are being renovated. And there will be the addition of a T-ball field and 2 multi-sport fields that can accommodate football, soccer, and baseball football. Pickleball courts are being added. An inclusive playground will be centrally located. And the parking area will have additional parking for the expansion of field access. Every project within the park focuses on access for all residents and all visitors. Several areas of our recreation facilities will include use lighting. The lighting is only on during actual use, saving money and maintenance. Government at every level has a fundamental responsibility to be effective stewards of the taxpayers' money. The public must have confidence in our financial management if they're going to support our efforts to provide a better quality of life within the community. $26 million was not near the amount the city of Pleasant Hill needed to accomplish all our goals in improving water and wastewater infrastructure, providing quality parks, and renovating the police and animal control facilities. Every piece of planning, every decision, and every action taken with the funds from those revenues and general obligation bonds was with one clear objective in mind. Spending that money effectively maximizes our achievements. We have to be effective, not efficient. Efficiency is the enemy of our progress. Efficiency is a term used by leaders who place value on similar terms: cheap, minimum, and just as good as. Almost 40 years ago, Ronald Reagan famously quipped that the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." 3 phrases you should also fear from any bureaucrat or politician. We're going to find a cheaper way to spend taxpayers' money. This meets minimum standards. The quality is just as good as. $26 million is a big ask of our taxpayers. We also need to find solutions to problems that do not require incurring additional debt or increasing the taxes each of us pays. In 2024, city staff worked hard to seek out and apply for alternative funding streams. Now, progress means different things to different people. In local government, progress is defined by our ability to move forward, to meet the community's expectations. But it's not always a straight path from here to there. In life, if you get off your path or you take a wrong turn, moving forward does not always get you closer to meeting expectations. We have to stop and find the best path forward to meeting those expectations. If we find ourselves on the wrong road, then we have 2 choices. We can turn around and get back to the right road, or we can take side roads and make our way to the right road. There are always detours on the path of progress. Now, during these detours, we see 3 types of reactions out of people. Some people just throw up their hands and scream, "We're lost," or "The sky is falling." They just revel in panic and offer no solution to getting back to our original path. Some people become paralyzed. They break hard, then just sit in the road, unable to move forward. The third group, well, they are the opportunists. They help you find the way to your destination, but they make sure you don't miss out on opportunities that detour presents. I want to speak briefly about a community named Riverside, Iowa. It sits 15 minutes south of Iowa City on a small state highway 22. The town has just over 1,000 residents, a small strip of 100-year-old storefronts, and all told, it encompasses 1.72 square miles. Most of you probably don't know anything about Riverside, Iowa. The town had no real identity in 1985, and it was struggling to keep the community afloat. In 1985, Steve Miller, a councilman, proposed a crazy idea. It seemed inconsequential, and most of its 800 residents of that time, I'm sure thought he was wasting taxpayers' money. There was a park bench placed in a small green space with rocks and red mulch around it. And a monument was built that says, "Future Birthplace of Captain James T. Kirk, March 22nd, 2228. Councilman Miller had read in Gene Roddenberry's book, written in the 60s, The Making of Star Trek, that Captain James Tiberius Kirk was born in a small town in Iowa. It didn't say Riverside, it just said a small town in Iowa. On March 25th, 1985, Councilman Miller had a motion passed unanimously to declare Riverside, Iowa, the future birthplace of Captain Kirk. They spent money on that bench, the monument, and landscaping. And over time, the town changed its motto from where the best begins to where the trek begins. The town festival was changed from Riverfest to Trekfest. With the advent of social media and the internet, a few Trekkies visiting the future birthplace became something that every Star Trek fan has on their to-do list. It became such a canon in Star Trek lore that in 2009, the writers of the Star Trek reboot movie named Riverside, Iowa, the birthplace of Captain Kirk in that movie. Nearly every mention of his birthplace since also identifies Riverside, Iowa as his future birthplace. Today, the monument's bigger, the park is bigger, they have a bronze statue of Captain Kirk in the town, and there is a Star Trek museum. The point being, the town of Riverside, Iowa really had no identity before that small detour. Today, it is just the same small town it always was. The population's only grown by 200 people. But the local businesses and community are comfortable because of the tourism that detour started. As a community, as residents, and as those tasked with running the local government, we must keep this community moving forward. When our path forward has obstacles, we cannot allow distractors and naysayers to prevent us from doing what is fundamentally right for this city. We need to embrace these detours as an opportunity to explore ideas and solutions that keep us moving forward towards our desired goals. 2-foot walls in your way cannot be allowed to impede your progress. Jump it, step over it, go around it, or just smash it and move on. The city recently submitted a bid to obtain a grant to build a sidewalk from East 163rd to Country Club. It would link schools and link neighborhoods. We didn't get that grant, but we'll spend the next 2 years learning from those who got the grant funding so that we can be in a better position to obtain that grant when it comes back around. We did receive a grant to help fund having a Pleasant Hill police officer in our schools as a school resource officer. We will also continue to seek ways to improve our officer salaries and benefits so that we can continue to build our staffing with officers who want to spend their careers in this community. Everyone is safer with community-focused policing. Chief Wright took over a police department that had good people, and he's worked hard to improve our police department's professionalism and identity within the community. Chief Wright recently graduated his second Citizens Police Academy in 2024. In 2025, he's building on that success to have a third Citizens Academy. And he's working to establish a local community emergency response team of volunteers from within the community who train on disaster preparedness. Our parks and recreation programs continue to grow. Our new parks director is a local resident who understands the problems with our programs and continues to improve our brand within the community. The Parks Department is actively pursuing grants to purchase equipment to maintain our active trail system and for additional improvements to our ongoing park improvements. The city's working to finalize plans for new construction, replacing our animal control shelter, and to provide for upgrades to the police station. Many of the improvements to our police station are not going to be the visual improvements like you see within the parks. Much of the police department needs structural and substructure improvements. These will serve to establish the foundation for future upgrades and improvements. Post-COVID, so many communities did not recover quickly from shutdowns and the shuttering of vital businesses and operations. Pleasant Hill has continued to grow out of that time in our history. The Cass County Fair continues to grow in attendance, and in the end product you see. We're now 3+ years with a growing return on expenses that fund future improvements. The fiscal health of City Hall continues to improve annually. Again, we will show investments in infrastructure and an operating budget with good reserves. We're not rich by any means. We need to build those reserves further, but we are gaining momentum to be in a better place. City staff is working on funding streams available to us to improve wayfinding signage in the community. Signage that lets people know they're in our community. Signage that better identifies parks and recreation. Signage that allows those traveling around Pleasant Hill to know what is available to them. Signage that fits the branding of the community and its districts. We're finally seeing the efforts of our economic development. The hard reality is this: the current Price Chopper is beyond its capacity to serve as a local grocery store. We will begin seeing work to build this community's first new grocery store since 1995. The new store will also feature pad sites for new retail and restaurants. They're working to make sure they have a plan to backfill the existing grocery store as part of their development. Now, we do have some empty storefronts and commercial buildings in this community. Moody's Analytics reports the national average of 19.2% for vacant storefronts. Post-pandemic, that number was nearly 30%. Our storefront commercial vacancy rate is about 8%. Filling in gaps along 7 Highway and filling empty storefronts is a function of many organizations in this community. Our Chamber of Commerce works with current and future businesses. Local realty companies work with potential buyers. And the city provides information to potential locations to future businesses as is appropriate. At the end of the day, a business has to buy property that fits their needs and their financial plans. Sometimes the cost of property or the topography of land determines suitability. Our current business and property owners have been a huge asset in business relocations and the establishment of new businesses. As a community, everyone involved has made an outstanding effort in meeting the goals of economic development. Now, the vacant structures. Several of those vacant buildings are in such disrepair that they're likely going to require demolition. The price of renovation simply is too high for a sound financial planning. Some of our vacant buildings are in a state of current renovation, and a few are sitting empty because they have a high sales price or high rental price associated with property. Those things are outside our control. We will continue to promote this community to potential businesses. And once the Price Chopper project is completed, our community will see future economic development opportunities. We must also strengthen the ties of our existing businesses within the community. We must support these businesses so they can continue to thrive during economic development. I always caution people to be careful about what you wish for. If a big box pharmacy moved into town, local smaller pharmacies may struggle to compete. Economic development must be strategic and well planned for. As a community, we must be mindful of our population statistics. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, we have an estimated population of nearly 9,000 residents. We continue to see a 1.72% annual growth. The median age in this community is 36.9 years of age, which is a steady decrease. The median household income in Pleasant Hill is $88,000 annually. Most people in this community drive to work alone and average a 30-minute commute. We're not the older, middle-class community we once were. This creates challenges. Our community cannot just focus on today's problems. We must be actively seeking out solutions to problems that we are going to face tomorrow. It is imperative that our codes and planning take growth into account. We must maintain codes that demand that developers provide for sidewalks, infrastructures, streets, and green space. We must hold builders accountable that structures are built correctly and safely. Our parks and recreation facilities must be able to grow with the population. We have to connect neighborhoods with more north, south, east, west connectors. We can debate the benefits and the negative impacts of widening 7 Highway, but unfortunately, that planning rests on Missouri DOT. It will not happen here first. It will be expanded from 50 Highway in Harrisonville before it's ever widened here. The only way to decrease traffic on 7 Highway is the improvement of connector streets east and west of 7 Highway. We must also consider how city services grow to meet the demands of our population. We must look at opportunities to develop an environment for retail services to be located within the community. Businesses that our residents can shop to provide the essentials for their homes. People shouldn't have to drive 30 or 40 minutes for household essentials. But we don't have to be Lee Summit or Raymore with large box stores. We can be self-sufficient community with local businesses that serve the needs of the community. We can retain our identity without isolating ourselves or becoming a community that we were never intended to be. We must continue to hold on to our historical structures and maintain our history, but recognize that modernization is just as vital. We must identify a path forward that includes a new police station, a new court building over the next 5 years. We need indoor basketball and volleyball space so we can improve our recreation programs without relying and being a burden on the school system to provide space. These are the challenges that City Hall understands are important to people of this community. There are projects that most people do not see that are on the planning charts within the offices of development, public works, the parks department, police department, assistant city administrator, and our city administrator. If you want Pleasant Hill to be a community once again of 2,000 people with no growth or opportunities, We know this is not the planning you want, but it is the voice of the majority. The city must address the needs of the greater good. The reality is, unless 7,000 people suddenly move, we will never be 1920 Pleasant Hill with a population of 1,900 people ever again. We live in a time when it seems like differing opinions mean that someone is right and someone is wrong. Those who disagree with you are labeled as bad people. There's too much hate. In my last State of the City address, I spoke about our legacy. The things we do for our own benefit are gone when we are gone. But the things we do for others, the greater good, remain forever as our legacy. What we do today for Pleasant Hill is not always about our needs. They're about the needs of our children and our grandchildren. We must continue to grow our parks for these future generations. We must continue to improve the water and wastewater system so that the next generation does not have to deal with these problems. We must plan for the continued maintenance of our streets, parks, and infrastructure. As a community, we must continue to take the time to celebrate our achievements together, commit ourselves to the work ahead in building this community, and as a community, hold each other accountable and to task. We have to be part of the solution, or we're just part of the bigger problem. Pleasant Hill, yes, we have problems that still need solutions, but your city government is keeping us on the path forward. The resourcefulness of our residents, our city leaders, and our partners are putting us on that right path for future generations. We have great challenges, and we have great opportunities tomorrow. This is our moment in history. Momentum into tomorrow, our legacy. I'm truly honored that each of you could be part of this State of the City address, and I thank you. On behalf of the City Council, we're grateful and indebted to all of you. I want to say a special thanks to Kylie Baker for her continued work in promoting this city through social media and events. I also want to thank all city staff for putting this community first. God bless you, and thank you for being here tonight.